We have a significant news update regarding the Arizona Coyotes' plans for a new arena in Tempe. We'll discuss the latest vote from City Council and what this means moving forward, coming up next. So welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. As I mentioned, we have some breaking news, and I guess depending on where you live, the news might not be breaking right now, but for me, this news basically broke in the middle of the night when I was in bed sleeping. So for me, I'm waking up to breaking news here this morning on the Coyotes arena situation in Tempe. Now, of course, we knew yesterday, June the 2nd, there was going to be a City Council meeting and a vote regarding the proposal for the new arena for the Coyotes in Tempe. So essentially, we have a yes vote from City Council with a 5-2 in favor. So that doesn't mean that the arena's 100% happening, but what it does mean is that they're voting yes to move forward to the next stage, which essentially is negotiations with the developer. So in this case, Alex Muriel and his group here from the Coyotes to develop and build not only the arena, but the whole project here that's being proposed. Now let's go through the details. There was a lot of interesting things that were said and agreed to during this session. There was an 8-hour really long session here. For some, would have been a bit of a snooze fest to follow along the entire time. So in case you don't have the full details, here's what the breakdown is. I found some good articles kind of outlining everything since that was way too long. And it's because of the time difference, it's impossible for me to follow along directly. I tried to follow along last night as much as I could, but by the time it was, getting late here, the session was only barely half over. And it's going to be 3 or 4 in the morning, my time, before any news comes out of this. So essentially, Alex Muriel, the owner of the Coyotes, has pledged to put forth $40 million in non-refundable money to start remediation of the land. Obviously, the land needs a lot of work to be able to even start to build on it. It's a big area that needs a lot done to it. So $40 million in non-refundable money for that is what's been pledged. And he's also pledged $2 million towards Tempe's Affordable Housing Fund. So that's another gesture there on behalf of the owner. And he's also pledging $2.1 billion in real estate assets as collateral for these bonds. So obviously that's a huge, ability of his to put this up as collateral to make sure that those are paid in the guarantees. Now, he's also had to agree to a financial condition, which is the same thing with ASU. It's not really, something that's uncommon, but he had to agree that it would be completely open, basically giving Tempe direct access to their financial institutions as well as any companies that have provided them loans. So essentially they can have a full look at everything to make sure they're fully comfortable with everything down the road. Team president Xavier Gutierrez also said that ownership is looking at adding additional teams to own. Now, I'm not really sure the full extent of what exactly that means. For right now, I would think it's probably wise and best that they solely focus on the Coyotes here. This is a pretty big project, a pretty expensive project, and based on their past and their inability to kind of keep up with everything, I would think that's they don't want to bite off more than they can chew, so to speak, right? But obviously, longer term, as things improve, as they get this arena hopefully built, maybe down the road they would try to add additional teams. I'm not really sure what they could add, to be honest. There's already a lot in the area under other ownership, so I guess we'll have to see in the future what that could possibly mean. He also presented plans, of course, to City Council, and anybody watching could see their full intent here. So obviously, this project that they're proposing is much more than just an arena. It's a full entertainment and residential district. Essentially, it would have the hockey arena, which would be a 16,000 seat arena. It also would have a 200-room hotel. Obviously, would have lots of retail shops and restaurants, as well as 1,680 residential units. So, of course, it's a massive project. Would bring in lots of tax dollars and lots of potential jobs as well. So clearly, there's people voicing support, and there's also entities and people voicing against this project as well. And you have to remember, anything that's coming against it, some of that could also be I wouldn't call it a conflict, but obviously, like, you know, they're right next to Phoenix. Certainly there's other areas that are in Glendale, and like there's going to be competition coming from this. Do you think Glendale really wants a brand new arena not too far from them that's going to get more of the attention for more of the events and everything? Like it's pretty big business competition, so you have to remember that as well when listening to any of the entities nearby that are against it. Certainly one of the bigger parties against the project has been the Phoenix Sky Harbor International Airport, and when that was brought up, obviously, again, and they clarified their stance, saying that they weren't completely against the project. The part of it that they were against was the residential aspect of it, because obviously because of the noise and different things that they're trying to avoid, and issues that they've trying to make sure don't happen here. And I think if you take away the residential aspect of this project, if for some reason it had to be modified, that would really, I think, impact the overall value of it. So I'm not really sure that it would be the same scale, and certainly would have not the same value. So I don't know if it would be able to move forward as is if you take that out. But obviously that's a big concern for their side of things. But there was certainly lots of voicing support for it as well, including Shane Doan, of course, who works for the organization, has been there a long time and been a big proponent of trying to grow the game of hockey in Arizona. Obviously, the franchise's all-time greatest player for sure. Some current players also there to speak on behalf of the organization, including Clayton Keller, Nick Schmaltz was present, Christian Fisher were all there to speak on behalf of supporting this project too. Gary Bettman, of course, was in attendance, but he attended via Zoom, so he was there remotely. And one thing that he said that was very interesting was that the Coyotes would be willing to sign a 30-year non-relocation document. So obviously that's a pretty big deal. But at the same time, if you think about this, that might be shocking for some people to hear, because I know a lot of people think the Coyotes won't survive in Arizona, and I know for the longest time I've had my concerns as well. But at the same time here, when it comes to that document that they would be signing, essentially, if they get this new building up and going, like once it's officially there, like it would be important to know that they're not going anywhere for any length of time, and it only makes sense that they would be committed to making it work long term. But you get a new arena in there, and you get all the other aspects of this that go with it. And then, of course, I know with the Muriel and everything, there's obviously the gambling aspect of things too. They probably would have a much better shot at surviving long term. Of course, the whole key here, though, is that one thing they've struggled with for a large part here is attendance, and will the fans come? And I think a lot of that too is also going to be by the product that they put on the ice. The Coyotes have not been an overly competitive hockey team for an extended period of time. I think to some degree you can make an argument that that's also because of the the lack of money that they want to spend on that product too, right? So it kind of goes hand in hand, but if the team can put a better product on the ice and show that it's getting better and being more competitive, and based on this location, at least based on what I hear from locals, that the fans should come. So if they get a better product on the ice and they get in Tempe and the fans don't come, then I just don't know what else they can do. But ultimately, that appears to be the solution here. But I don't live in the area, but based on what I hear from locals, that seems to be a little confidence that this would certainly work in this new proposed arena and district that's being trying to be developed here. Now, of course, as I mentioned, there's also back to the opposition, you could say. Besides the airport, one of the councillors spoke out quite against the project, and it wasn't so much the project itself, but spoke out and dealing with this particular developer. So in case the Coyotes and Muriel, Councilor Lauren, I think it's Kuby, K-U-B-Y, is how her name is said, expressed serious concern over the development of the project because of who they were dealing with here. Basically, based on past histories, what it largely boils down to, a lot of it had to do with how they've done business in Glendale. And she also cited a business viability assessment, which I'll show you a snapshot here on the screen, that she presented and talked to. This was completed by Dun Bradstreet Finance Analytics. It shows a delinquency score of high, a failure risk rate of moderate to high, overall risk of high, and a max credit recommendation of only $5,000. So certainly this report, which comes from people who analyze everything financially, that doesn't show a lot of confidence in the developer. So obviously that was cited by the counselor here, and she also went on to say that she had concerns over possible litigation stemming from any breach of the IGA and stressed the need for a forensic economic analysis. So I don't know what will all take place during the next phase. This next phase of the negotiations between the developer and the city is certainly going to take really a long time. Like I don't really know. It's hard to pinpoint when we'll get additional updates on this, because it's a long process. Like we're probably looking at. That's why the agreement with ASU is for 3 years, but I believe there's a clause in there that it can be I think it's up to 5, and it can be, if you think about it, this process could take it wouldn't be shocking if the whole process from the time they put in their bid to the time they get a final answer could be a year. That's not unusual, seeing how this has gone in other jurisdictions. So and then from there, assuming it goes well and they get approval, by the time they start get shovels in the ground and start digging, it's going to take some time, especially where this land needs a lot of where the land that it's being developed on, obviously, like I said, Muriel has pledged $40 million for remediation of that land. It's going to take some time. So, we'll see what happens, but it's a good step in the right direction. And there's always going to be people that are skeptical of this just based on the history of this team in this general area and how things have not gone well during their somewhat long history now in the desert. But this is a big step forward for the Arizona Coyotes to secure themselves a long-term home, which the current ownership group, Gary Bettman, appeared to be quite confident in will be something that will allow the team to be successful and remain there for the foreseeable future. Like I said, they're looking at signing a 30-year guarantee that they won't leave. So that's quite a lot of confidence on both sides. So we will see. There could still be hurdles. Can they overcome them? Let me know how you think negotiations are going to go. But this is a big step in the right direction. If you're new to this channel, make sure you subscribe and stick around. We'll keep you up to date with the latest news, rumors, and analysis on all 32 NHL teams. Thank you for watching, and I will catch you next time.